other people are interested in doing this, and whether or not they start a podcast or not, they're getting these ideas of, wow, maybe I should be on a podcast or start something. And that's what I think is so cool to, fitness, wellness, whatever you're doing. It doesn't have to be in the fitness industry. What's your thing? What's your shine? And go for it. Put it out there. That's kind of cool.
Hey, fitness friends. Welcome back to the Future of Fitness podcast and interview series. This is your host, Eric Malzone, and this is episode number 132. I talked to Christine Conti and Brian Prendergast. So they are the hosts of the Two Fit Crazies podcast, which I had the pleasure of being on not too long ago. So definitely go check it out on iTunes and subscribe and listen to what they have to offer because they're awesome. They're very entertaining, number one. I mean, their energy is contagious. Their enthusiasm as well. They also both have very, very inspirational stories. They are two people who are chock full of grit and hard work, and they see the fitness industry from a very unique perspective that we can all find value in. So yeah, enjoy it. It was a lot of fun, just great people as well, and love the type of people I really like having on the show. So before we get into this episode, we are brought to you by two options today. Number one is certifiedcoursecreation.com. So if you have a specific knowledge in any industry, really, but we're talking about health and fitness or wellness now, but if you have a very, very specific knowledge set that you think has legs as far as building an online accredited certification so that you can now bestow your information upon hundreds, thousands, if not millions of people, then go check out certifiedcoursecreation.com. And you might find that it could be very lucrative as well. So beautiful online accredited certifications in all aspects of fitness, health, and wellness, and outside that as well. So go to certifiedcoursecreation.com. The first step is just to book a discovery call with yours truly and figure out, hey, does this idea have legs in the market, right? I have a very solid grasp on what's going on within the fitness and health industry specifically, and I can let you know if the idea is worth going down. We're looking for just a handful of great partners. We're not going to build a ton of them, but the ones we do are going to be outstanding, and we're going to be a partner in that venture. So if you think that's you, go check it out at certifiedcoursecreation.com. Now, if you are a gym owner, facility owner, franchise owner, or someone who works with gym owners, then go check out elitegyminsiders.com. So it is an online Slack community. Slack is my favorite place to hold online communities. I do quite a bit of that type of work, because it doesn't get you sucked into the vortex of social media. It's there. People are there with intention to network, learn, and just gain knowledge and improve their skill sets. So go to elitegyminsiders.com. Not only will you find a great community, but you're going to find discounts on very, very valuable things. So digital marketing agency work. We're about to launch something like that. Buying a franchise or multiple franchises, we can get you a discount on that. Educational pieces, software, you name it. We're going to have a ton of opportunity to make your money stretch. And it's just a great place to be. So elitegyminsiders.com, go check it out. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Episode number 132 with Christine Conti and Brian Prendergast. Enjoy. All right, and we're live. Christine, Brian, Two Fit Crazies, what is up? Thanks for coming on.
What's going on, Eric? How are you?
Aloha.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Aloha. I like it. Yeah. He's just dying for warm weather. That's all.
Take what I can get.
What are those snowshoes on the back? Is it snowshoes on your wall?
Yeah, there are actually. Yep. Yeah.
No tennis rackets.
Right now.
They're only snowshoes.
I'm up in Montana, so we actually use snowshoes out here, but those are ancient ones. I wouldn't dare step on those things. And I have to say, I'm really excited because like I was telling you guys prior to the interview starting, is it's so nice working with professionals, and you guys have the mics, you have the sound check, you're even recording on your side. You guys are pros, right? And I think
so.
I think he's talking to us.
Yeah. Hashtag pros.
I was looking around to see if there's someone else here. No,
it seems like someone just walked in the room. No, it's you guys. It's you guys. It is, and it's great to have you on. I mean, you guys. I had a great time coming on your podcast, the Two Fit Crazies, and people should check it out. We'll talk a lot about that during the show here. But you have such a vast knowledge and great philosophy when it comes to fitness and health. I'm really excited to get some of that out there. And I think a good plan of action would be maybe we can start off with your story, Christine. And
all right,
got into this wild world of fitness.
Wild is a word. Wild is a word. So
hold on to your hats.
Yeah, get the hat on. I'm gonna do a little whirlwind of a tour, and then I'm gonna pass it off to Brian. And I always think it's so crazy. I think people and things happen in life for a reason. And I never really believed in fate and you make your own destiny. I think to an extent you do. Grew up in New York and was always an athlete. 2 older sisters played volleyball in college. So I come from this line of, athletes, and wound up going to college. But I had a mom who was like, if you don't get good grades, you're doing nothing. And that's what it was. So we studied hard. I wound up getting a scholarship and played volleyball in college, which was great. It was my meal ticket, got to travel the world. But it was always, majored in business and English. I was going to be the CEO of, I worked in the city in banking for a little bit.
Where'd you go to college, Christine?
Binghamton University is where I played. So America East conference. And then it was sitting behind a desk. I mean, made great money in my early 20s, but I'm like, people who know me are like, really? You sit behind a desk? I'm like ants in my pants. I just can't do that. So I decided, all right, I'm going to go with this English. I'm going to get my master's and I'll go teach, because if I can teach, then I can coach. And then when I was in graduate school at the University of Maryland, they put like this $1 million fitness, big, I don't know, building up. And they were bringing in these professionals, which is funny because now those professionals are now my peers and friends. They were bringing them in and I was getting certifications hand over foot. So I got the taste of the fitness industry, kind of made some money, get my master's. And now I'm like, wow, this is awesome. People pay me like to work out. And but I knew that, I grew up thinking you have to have a full-time job. Fitness is not a job. It's a hobby. So I was teaching, coaching, had a fitness business on the side, met my husband, left Maryland, moved up to the Jersey Shore, and same thing. I'm teaching, I'm coaching, I'm fitness, and, literally working around the clock, but loving it. But I started realizing that every single decision I made in my life was all about being with fitness, helping people live better lives, more mobility, in this functional fitness, before I even knew that word, functional fitness, what exactly that meant. And a fitness company kind of fell in my lap, got to travel and start a small company from the bottom up, and got to wind up traveling all over the world presenting. And one thing led to another. I love people, like sitting down, have a glass of wine with someone, go to dinner. And now these people, the top in the world, are now people I know, people you're friends with, people that are a phone call away. And it's been a crazy ride, because I realized after losing my father, losing a couple people in my life, and getting diagnosed with one of a really, I would call it awful. It's awful. It's an autoimmune disease. I've been on and off chemo a couple of times in the last 8 years. Kind of questions yourself. And you're like, am I doing what I'm meant to do in this planet? And I looked at myself. I was sitting in the parking lot one day, my last year of teaching English. And I said, Christine, get out of the car, get out of the car. This is not life. I knew that I knew there was a bigger purpose. I knew that I could reach more people, help more people if I was out of this classroom and in front of this fitness world, helping people like me who I believed nothing should hold you down. I don't care if you have a disease or you're this or you're that. Damn it. If I can't run, I'm going to walk. I can't walk, I'm going to crawl. And if I can't crawl, then one of these people in this world are going to push me in a place, something.
I got you.
But that's the thing. So I adopted this kind of like, yes, you can attitude, where I refuse to be, left on the ground and kicked down. And I'm going to crawl my way up no matter what. Long story short, about, 7 months ago or so, went out on my own. No company, no nothing. I've always had these programs I've written throughout the years, whether it's yoga or this trademarked facial exercise program called Let's Face It Together, or some online certifications and tutorials. They always sat dormant. And I go back to my English with Langston Hughes, dream deferred. What happens to a dream deferred? And the last line was, does it explode? And it kills you not being able to follow your passion. So I decided, if my body's not going to work forever, I got this bucket list, we're going for it. And Brian always says, you pull the boat close enough to the dock and step off. I was able to step off. And right now my fitness is all over the place. And I do a lot in traveling and headed to Singapore. Like how does this happen? Like, who, you start like, who the hell am I? And all of a sudden you're kind of put yourself in with the big dogs. And Brian and I heard about Brian because when I got sick, I started this bucket list of running. And I heard about this legend in my area, Brian. And he's this amazing runner. He's got this great story. You got to meet him. And first time we met, actually we heard about each other, was in Boston. And you tell this story really fast.
It's a cool story. So we're both up in Boston to run the marathon, and we live in the same town. And we're
a mile away from each other.
A couple miles, at most. And we were Facebook friends, because I knew who Christine was, and we were friends on Facebook. I could see everything that she's doing. I knew that she was going to be in Boston. I was going to be in Boston too. We had no plans to meet or anything, but we happened to be, I think we're staying at the same hotel. And I'm out for my run the day before the marathon. You just go for a little, 3-mile jog just to kind of clear your mind more than anything. And
freak out.
And relax. And I'm up in Boston on the Cambridge side on the Charles River, and I'm going for a run. And here's Christine Conti. I recognize her. I see her, and I say, "Hey, Christine, it's Brian."
No, it was Conti.
Hey, Conti.
In a city of I'm like, what is happening?
Long lost friend. So that was it. I said, "Hey, good luck tomorrow. Have fun." And
then, hey, Meb Keflesky.
So that's the next part. So then I'm running down further, and I see Meb Keflesky, who had won the marathon 2 years prior, the year after the bombing in Boston, and the first American to win since 1979. And it was this.
It's kind of big.
No, I'm sorry, it wasn't 79. It was 82, I think, whatever. And here comes Meb, and he's probably one of the most famous runners on the planet. And so I met Christine and Meb on the very first on a run in Boston one day.
Same with Ryan.
Yeah,
that was kind of the first time I was destiny. But going forward now, I was still teaching, so it wasn't until a year and a half later, I believe, that finally I leave teaching. I want to sit down and really meet everybody that I've been, haven't had time to talk with. And I came in to Brian's office, and I'm like, Brian, I always wanted to podcast. What'd you say?
I said, I'm in. Let's
and meanwhile,
go.
I didn't even listen to podcasts. I didn't know really anything about it. I just knew that's where it was at. That's where it was going. It wasn't really going towards radio, or no news channel's going to call us up and be like, by the way, we want you guys as our anchors. That doesn't happen. So I just knew that there was such a need in the fitness industry, like what you do, Eric, to bring information to people, the masses. And guess what? We don't have $1 billion sponsorships. We don't have monopoly, companies that are coming. And I saw that other companies and other people had these great ideas, but there was no way to really disseminate their information. So I'm like, you know what? If you don't have a platform, you create your own. And that is really how this started. And I'm going to pass it off to Brian.
Yeah, a week later, I get a laundry list of equipment that I might need from a friend of mine who is podcasting. He was my old college roommate, and he sent me this gigantic list of all this expensive stuff that I would need. And I kind of looked at it, I shot it back. I said, all right, this just gave me anxiety. What do I really need? And he's like, this, and this. And it was, it was a handheld recording device, and just, a computer and some things to edit in. And he walked me through it. And next thing you know, we've got a podcast. I relied on YouTube videos a lot to learn how to do all this stuff.
I relied on Brian.
Our first few podcasts, we leave them up. They're awful. Like awful.
They sound awful. It's all about our story.
All right, I have the tech ear now because I do all the editing and the cutting and all that stuff. And I'm just like, oh man, that's bad. But it was a question as to whether or not we were going to leave it up. We were finding our way, which is the way that you're going to do anything. We didn't have to be perfect. We just had to do it. Start. Yeah. And 95 episodes later. We're on the brink of 100, which we've got big plans for. And, we've just, slowly but surely found our way and built our audience and relied on some friends in the industry that we both have to call them in. We interview, Eric was a guest of ours, and, we had a fantastic conversation with that. And we get to the crux of it. I mean, we find out usually what I say is that people come to us because of something that they've done, or their role in the fitness industry, or a program that they've created, or, whatever it is that they have going on. And then once we get them for that, but what we really get once we have them on the show is their story. And that, to me, is just the most amazing part of everything. We just get the story, and we have people speak to us, and we find out, just like you're doing right now, find out the background, find out what the genesis of all these ideas and where did it come from, what was the need you saw, and for us, it's just honestly, not to sound cheesy, but it's heartwarming, because you find and motivating, because you find these people that are just like us, that have worked their way up to a position where they're doing these amazing things, and we're able to help them spread the word, and we're able to learn from them, and it's just amazing. It's been nothing but fun for us. Fitness aside, the podcast has just been fantastic.
Wait, you didn't even answer the question yet of how did you get into this?
How did I get?
I'm trying, Eric.
She's gonna move me along here, Eric.
I mean, that's great, but he's got a really good story. His story is really good.
Yeah, let's hear
it.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. So my story is one of, like most, I was youth athlete, sports. I grew up in a running family. My family ran. My mom ran marathons in the 80s. My brother ran for one of the better high school programs in the country at CBA here in Lincroft, New Jersey. And we were a running family. I ran Junior Olympics, cross country events all throughout, going on and on. One of the reasons why we ran so much was because my father had a heart condition. And in his way of regaining his health, long story short, he had a heart attack when he was very young. He was 37 years old. I was a kid. I remember vaguely the stories, the open heart surgery, the whole thing. He was living an unhealthy lifestyle. He was an incredible human being, but, he wasn't taking care of himself. And, Irish, New Jersey upbringing and, dietary, the one thing that they say, genetics are one thing, but the most thing that runs in common with most families is their diet. Right. So, it was a lot of that. It was, his family, or my family on that end, wasn't always the healthiest family around. So, part of his recovery was getting us more active. We always played soccer. I always played basketball. I played a bunch of team sports, but running was always there. He passed away when I was 12 years old. He had a fatal heart attack at age 41. I was 12. It messed us all up greatly. I was, still active, still running, but when it came to high school and, a couple years later, I just relied on team sports. I was playing with my friends. I was always very good. I played soccer. I played lacrosse, but I got away from running. After college, went to school for a little bit and, remained active. I lived out west, lived in Arizona, was always on trails, was always on mountains and doing, mountain biking and things like that, but never really anything more than that. There was no gym regimen. There was no, I had joined some gyms here and there and I, used some gyms, but it was mostly just to stay active. I was just active, club sports and things like that, pick up basketball, whatnot. And then, after that, I got into corporate America and I had about 10 really unhealthy years. Always active, always doing things. I lived at the beach. So, in the summertime, it was always, I'd shed like the 5 to 8 pounds in the summertime and just moving and always staying active. And I had some really, about 10 unhealthy years. But at that point in my life, I kind of thought that was like the playbook, right? You go through, you play your sports, you do your college, you get out, you go into the cubicle and you kind of live like in that life and you make your money and your career is the focus now. It's not necessarily anything else. And, and at one point, I was in mortgage banking and I was in the cubicle like Christine, and I'm not a cubicle guy either. And I, what I always say is a Bruce Springsteen line, of course, I'm from New Jersey, is that I was living in my own skin and I couldn't stand the company. I had probably weighed about 30 pounds or so more than I do right now. I wasn't obese. I wasn't, in terrible shape. But what I was doing was I was going along the same path that my father had. So all this life experience, all these things that had come into my life that I had learned at such a young age, from running to like Pritikin diet was like thrown around my house like crazy because my dad was on a special diet. We never drank, whole milk or anything like that. It was always like, things were in place, that I had to understand. Dr. Dean Ornish was something that I was introduced to like at a very young age. And he's like, the doctor for reversing heart disease. So I go to a doctor for a regular checkup and he's like, listen, your blood pressure's high. And I'd like you to take some niacin. And I'm like, 30, 31. And I'm out of shape, but so were all my friends, it's kind of like that age. It was just kind of like, I wasn't running in the same circles. So one day, drew a line in the sand, decided that enough was enough. Did the one thing that had always been there for me in my life when I ever wanted to straighten things out, and that was run. I went for a run. It was awful. I was red in the face. I was overweight. I was out of shape. Things weren't going very well. And but one thing I did was I showed up the next day and I did it again. And I was, I did it to a point where I never got sick of it. I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make, is that they will, say, I'm going to work out every day. And it's like, put your brakes on a little bit and like, let's do things that we can do consistently in order to make sure that we can be there, if not every day, then every week. And then if, the weeks lead to months and the months lead to years, and we can be, make a sustainable practice out of it. So, without much guidance or regulation, I was able to really do it. And within the first year that I signed up for my first half marathon, I trained for it. I put in about 12 weeks of a running program that I found online. It's weird because I knew running. I'd always known running. I knew the superstars. I knew what the world record was for the marathon. I'm a sports fan in general, so like it was always kind of part of that. As much as I knew who won the Super Bowl, I knew who won the Olympics. And running has just kind of been the passion of mine for that. Because of running, I ran into some injuries. When I run into some injuries, I go to physical therapy. Physical therapy taught me that if I strengthen this muscle and that muscle, and we can, perhaps, do some things in different ways, then, you won't get injured quite as much. That led me to being certified in personal training programs. And that was, just kind of set me on my way. I actually got into personal training and group fitness training through Broadway, through my running injuries that led me in that direction. And then, as I'm doing that, people in the office, mortgage banking, are saying, hey, Brian, you look great. What have you been doing? Now they're coming to me, right? So now they're saying, all right, what's your story? What's going on? I've got people in the office that I'm helping. I've got people in the office that I'm inspiring to run a 5K for the first time in their life. Moms, people, all this stuff. I'm setting up programs for them. And, I left the one job to kind of take, like Christine steals my line.
Appreciate it.
People always talk about making that leap, right? The leap. I'm going to make a leap. I'm going to change. I said, I don't want to leap anywhere. I just want to get the boat close enough to the dock that I can step right off onto it. So I left the mortgage bank job. I got another sales job that allowed me more leeway to kind of do the more physical training, personal training, run coaching, health coaching. Got a really good health coaching certificate that helps me do just about everything besides the actual fitness end of it. So how are you thinking? How are you eating? What's good? How's your sleep patterns and all things like that, to me is really the crux of really good health. I would say we can do yoga or run until we're, green in the face, and eat kale until we're green in the face, but that doesn't always make us healthy. There's plenty of more that goes into it that we can really get into. And then, throughout the journey, just, started a company, High Five Health and Fitness, online health coaching that I do. Got some clients, got clients that, I don't have to see them. We can do just like we're doing right now. We can have meetings online and meet with them and help them out and just get their health in order, as opposed to, just their nutrition or just their fitness or just their sleep or just their pissed off attitude at life and, everything that we can kind of get into to make us healthier. Here comes Conti on a run in Boston, and next thing you know, we're collaborating on this kick-ass podcast and having a whole lot of fun.
Awesome, awesome, you guys. There's so much that I resonate with, with what you guys are talking about. It's really interesting. I spent 10 years in San Francisco in my 20s doing various. I was in mortgage as well, right? I did a lot of that. I did various forms of sales and marketing, made great money and lived it up. But I wasn't that healthy. And even like playing club water polo, I was still like, that wasn't even counterbalancing the stuff I was doing in my life. And, making that leap and really just kind of becoming aware. And there's always that life circumstance too that triggers it, right? It's got to be something deeply rooted in your life that makes that shift. And starting the podcast too, it's one of those. When did you guys start the podcast? How long ago?
It was a year and a half ago.
Yeah, we're still babies.
Like I said, just under 100 episodes. So we try to do one a week. It's and we haven't, we're consistent with it. We crank them out now. So it's been, probably coming up almost 2 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I started I released my first episode on the show in December of 2017. So about a year and a half, right? And same thing, like all I started with was my laptop and some earbuds and Zoom. And that was it. I was like, well, because I asked Andy Petronic, a friend of mine who's had a podcast for a while. I'm like, well, how do I start? What do I do? He's like, well, you just start, dude. Like you just get on and start asking people questions and you create an episode. And I've kept all of my episodes up. If people want to go check them out, you can see how much attention I paid to sound quality, which was none, right?
We had some of our first guests that we had on because it was, we're getting this whole like Zoom, Skype, whatever. And I'll never forget this. There was a guest that was like, we were like, we've been doing Skype or call, whatever. And they were like, you don't do Zoom? You're not Zooming? I'm like lady, yeah, we are Zooming. We are. Yep. Well,
I can Zoom.
Right, how do you do that? It's such an evolution, and now it's really funny.
Yeah, it's a great thing, a podcast, isn't it? I mean, you learn. I talk about all the time. I talked about on your show too. Is like right now I have everything shut down. Like my phone is off. I have my apps are shut down. No one can message me. I don't I'm not checking email, of course, or anything like that. I just get to listen and learn from you guys and hear your stories. And then in turn, get to share that with an audience. It's just such a cool thing. And you talk about, our opportunities now to do what we can create whatever we want now, whatever we want. Like you guys just create a podcast out of thin air, right? Start building an audience. You have people listening to you. You come up with topics. You reach out to people. That started like from nothing. There was no framework for that. And here you are, almost 100 deep. And it just shows that, whatever people want to do nowadays, you can just do it. You just have to start. I love the stepping off onto the boat. That's a great analogy. Like
let's be clear that the boat was not. I mean, it's not calm waters when you step onto the boat. Like it was maybe a little like the boat was rocking a little bit, and you were like, "Whoa!" But we didn't fall in the water. Kind of important. And then what I think is the craziest thing these days is that people will reach out to us and say, we want to be on your podcast, or we were at a school like for a career day and we came in and just talked about marketing and, creating your own platform to hundreds and hundreds of kids. And there were kids that listened to our podcast, like,
and didn't realize it until we were like talking to her. We said, we do various episodes, and the one girl we have Christine does this thing when we go to speak at anything. She'll say, "Take your phone out and hit that podcast app that you have on your phone. If it's Apple, it's that purple little thing, and type us in. Okay, good. Now subscribe." And she gets like a crowded, a big audience to subscribe to the show. And the girl pulls it up and she goes, "Oh wait, I've listened to this before." And it's like, of course you have.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just a high school kid, and it was a good episode too. It was like about technology and is it a friend or a foe, and is it impeding our progress or helping our progress? And it was good. It was a very good episode. It was just the two of us. There was no guest. And it was good. The kid said she got something out of it. And, now I'm sure since we're so popular with the high school kids, all the high school kids are listening to our podcast.
But I think it's cool that, you said that too. Like you have an idea and you start, and really evolve. And now, like I said, we have a session for SCW manias around the country. It's the Club Industry Business Summit. It's a Club Industry Summit is what it is. And the business of fitness. And now one of the sessions that we present, either one or both of us, is Podcasting 101, create your own platform. And it's really cool because really now we're helping other people. Obviously it helps us with marketing and, with the podcast, but other people are interested in doing this. And whether or not they start a podcast or not, they're getting these ideas of, wow, maybe I should be on a podcast or start something. And that's what I think is so cool to, fitness, wellness, whatever you're doing. It doesn't have to be in the fitness industry. What's your thing? What's your shine? And go for it. Put it out there. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I'd be curious, when people approach you about questions about starting a podcast, how do you set expectations?
Right, just do it. Really do it.
Well, what I tell them is that we're just like one rung up the ladder from where you are right now. Like if you're even considering or contemplating starting a podcast, like we're not much further up the road than you are, as tremendous and successful as we are. We're just so here's some basic things. It's essentially just here's what you need to get started, which is relatively nothing. We probably have we have way more than you actually need. So and then you don't have to be great to start. Just get in there and start recording some things. I tell them, maybe put 2 or 3 together so that way when you do release them, there's just enough going out to kind of, so that you're not waiting. Simple things, consistency, just whatever you want to talk about, whether you want to talk about it for 10 minutes or you want to talk about it for 3 hours. 3 hours is a long time, but, just like whatever it is, just start putting them out there.
Consistency.
And you'll be better. We had a great guest on, Monica Rivera. And she won a NPR scholarship type of thing where she was for podcasting, and everybody else was like these media, so it was like someone from the New York Times was there, and there's something, and
hosts and whatever.
And she, even though some of the high-end New York, news outlets, and she won her, her seat for podcasting, and she says, hi, I'm Monica, and I podcast from my closet, and it was just. Like you don't need anything. You just need something to talk about that interests you enough to keep doing it. And sure as heck, we're interested enough in fitness that and we could talk to anybody. I think that's one of the
good stories is what I think. There hasn't been one person I've met that doesn't have a good story that has been successful in something, whether it's like a book or a
we found out that there's Brazilians in Montana from you, how great story is that? With snowshoes on the wall. It's amazing. And we have our roles with it, right? Christine does a lot of the booking. Christine is definitely out front. I have no problem being out front and things like that. But Christine is, she's got no problems walking up to anyone and just saying, hey, you're famous, get on my show.
But you ask and you shall receive is what I've always told. So the worst thing you can do, and again, in fitness or whatnot, is not ask. And again, when you're doing your podcast and we have ours, we're bringing these people, hey, how do you feel about talking to our listeners and expanding your, your reach around the world? You've done the same thing. You create something, you create a value, and then you give that to someone. And I can't tell you how often, daily, 100 million times, like people are, Christine, buy this, do this, be a part of this, sell this energy panels, like sell this food, and it's always people want, and I just don't have anything else to give. How about I have something for you? And I think that's and whether it's fitness, whether Brian and I are offering trainings for people or we're going up to someone, let us help you live a better life. Let us help you be happier. Let us find something that works for you. And I think that it comes from the heart and it comes from being really, and it's so cheesy, but it's authentic. Like Brian and I couldn't do what we do unless we really loved it. And we love it. And it's not always super easy, but it's something that makes you happy. And maybe we're selfish because of that, but it's something that we feel like that's our value to the world. And the podcast is just a small piece of what we can also offer to other people to help everyone become, more fit and more happy and live longer lives through this message.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting too. I'd be curious to get your feedback because here's what I've experienced too over, hundreds of podcasts is that the more high profile people are, the greater chance that they're probably going to come on your show. Right. I mean, it's this weird
Absolutely.
thing. You're nervous about asking. And they're like, oh yeah, sure. When I think Dan John was my third interview on this show. He came back and did another one this year, which numbers just blew up, of course, because it's Dan John. But when he said yes to me, he didn't ask how many downloads I had. He didn't ask how many episodes I had. He didn't ask anything. He was just so happy to offer value. And he knew, because he had that same, outlook on things. If you just put enough value out there, right? Help people. You never know, like someone you help at this point, what's going to happen in 5 years, right? You just never know, right? And the people that I found that can be challenging at times for interviews are those who really haven't reached, I don't know, I have ways of saying this, not as high profile as maybe some of the other ones, right?
Understood. No, I get that.
Yeah, they're difficult, right? Because they'll be like, well, how many downloads? No, not worth my time.
What's that word? They haven't you know what I'm talking about? Like they haven't not seen the light, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like you're at a different perspective in life. Like you're just not seeing the bigger picture.
I look at it like this. Like if I were a newspaper reporter, right? And I went to somebody and I said, hey, Bart Yasso. Bart Yasso is a guru of running, and he's just the greatest guy, and he has the greatest stories. And we had him on the show, and it was an honor to have him on a show. And he's one of those guys who, never in a million years would I walk up to him and say, hey, you should be on my show. And it turns out we've got a friend of a friend. And I said, I did get to say that to him. And he's like, yeah, no problem. And, he's the chief running officer at Runner's World Magazine for 30 something years. And he's just got story after story. And it's just amazing, and here he is on a show. But, if I were a newspaper reporter and I had a publication that I worked for, and I went up to Bart and said, hey, Bart, I'd like to do an article on you, and it would be just the same. He'd say, yeah, absolutely. I want to be interested. Somebody's interested in hearing my story, and here it is. And, or anybody that we've had on really. And, even like on the local community aspect, we all have our local community newspapers that, if you get, an article on, and they've done articles on me, they've done articles on Christine, and that they're nice. They're nice little bios and things that you can kind of use to promote yourself. And they would say yes. And we're no different, except our publications are podcasts. And when, just like I just rattled off my life experiences in, 5 minutes, and I gave you all of that, if you were writing an article on me and it had to fit in, 5 columns, you would leave out most of that. You wouldn't be able to get any of that in your, it'd be like a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that would be it. Well, with the podcast, we can give you an hour, and you could tell your own story.
And you get friendly banter between the two of us.
It's crazy. And so it's just a great way. Like I said, we get people for whatever they've done or whatever they're doing. And then once we get them, we get their story. And, it's amazing. People inspire the heck out of me.
And they loosen up. I love when people start like rigid. I don't know these people, because again, maybe one of us has a relationship with them, but many times it may be you don't really know them, and I think that's the best part, when they think they're just gonna what are the questions, I'm like, we're not asking you a rigid set of questions, because that's just not us. Give us like you do, give us, what are you working on, what's going on, do you want to promote things, because we want to help you, but give us that story. Give us the good stuff. What did you do? When did you fall on your face? How did you get up? What's the worst thing you ever did? And what's the best? Those are the fun stories that really, now the why behind why they, what they did or what they're doing now. Because Lord knows if, Brian and I didn't make some poor choices in our lives, we probably would not be. Maybe I'll speak for myself.
No, you can speak for me.
Right. We didn't make some terrible choices in life. We would have not been able to open our eyes to where we really need to be and appreciate what's around us and know that we have this gift to help others. Because let's face it, not everyone else realizes their gifts in life. And I'm not this like woo, kumbaya girl. I'm really not. I'm very, I see the, here's where we need to be. Here's what we need to do. I see it. However, I think everyone really has a purpose. And if you have a choice, if you can follow that and open your eyes to it, I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So tell me, with with your particular podcast, what's the general vision of the podcast? Like what's the mission that you guys have? Who are you trying to, who do you try to get on there? What are the messaging you're trying to get across? Who are you catering to? What audience are you looking for? Give us some insights on that.
Whoever has the most Instagram followers is
not true.
No.
Well, you got the wrong guy here.
Yeah. No, it's okay. We wouldn't be on our own show.
And we need to go with the naked models and whatnot. And we need to bring them on.
It's been very organic. It's been people in the industry that we are acquaintances, and the stories that come with it. I mean, we've had people on that aren't necessarily my wheelhouse as far as their products or what they're doing, but they become friendly because we get to interact with them on a level above and beyond whatever it is that they have. Same with Christine. I'm sure that some of the people that I've lined up for the show are just a little bit off from where, or different than what her wheelhouse would be. So really, it's just anybody that we feel like can tell an inspiring story. Anybody that we feel is passionate about passionate enough about what they do, that they can inspire somebody to do something great with their lives. I had my friend Brian Hanlon on, who is a sculptor. He's sculptures in bronze, and he's an amazing athlete. So that was part of the story.
Everything's related to fitness, health, wellness, somehow.
He's
some
very good Masters runner that was running the Masters National Championships a few weeks later. But we talked to him about his artwork. He's done sculptures forever. He's the official sculptor of the Basketball Hall of Fame, right? So sports related, and he does things on college campuses.
He just texted me when I was in San Francisco. Christine, you're out here. I'm out here too. I'm going to meet Billie Jean King tomorrow. I'm like, well, Brian, tell her I said hi. Great to hear from you.
Can you get her on the show?
Right. I was like, so are you booking her?
So, just like there's a story that's not necessarily like slam dunk health and fitness, but it's about passion and life and really, living a better life for things and people who are doing things that we feel in the right way that can really help other people, anybody who's listening. And, from there we do have great, fitness, contributors to, Irene McCormick's been on, Fabio Camana's been on,
top exercise scientists, people inventing fitness programs, companies. So, nutrition too is another huge one. Just really people that are the top of the fitness, health, wellness industry that can give not just advice, that's the big thing, not just advice, but have walked the walk. People that, if you have a book, you did what you wrote about. If you have a program, you put yourself through it. And that's, and I think that Brian and I resonate with that because we have put ourselves through some of these hellish things. When we talk to people, it's here's what we've done. Here's what we've experienced: health, wellness, nutrition, the ups and downs of life. And it's really for us to be able to, bring these people on and almost have empathy to what they've gone through too, building business, losing business. It's a very powerful, personal, human connection, I think, is what we feel we bring to our audience, which is why I think people respond to like your podcast, to our podcast, because it's a very human connection.
Or how about this even? We bring on people that we can learn from.
Oh yeah.
Right? And that we can learn from.
Get out the pencil and paper.
And I'm pretty, sure, like I always say, like, there's no dumb question. Like if you have a question, or if I'm in a group setting or I'm teaching, health and fitness or whatever, say, if you have a question, chances are somebody else also has that question. So ask it and you'll help the group. Yeah. And, by us asking questions to them, we're helping ourselves, but in turn, we're helping our audience, maybe some of the things are, don't hit home for them, but that's okay. But maybe 1% of it does. And that 1% or, quarter of it will make a difference to them. So, hey, selfishly, I just like podcasting and we can learn some stuff from other people.
We want to go full time, Eric. So that's really where this comes down to. Right? Are you on board with this? So however we can help each other. Full time, I would love it. That this could be our, obviously we're looking for, and I'm sure you are too, hey, by the way, insurance companies, Whole Foods. I mean, if you want to come on, and do some advertising, I have a laundry list of like, here's the people I would like to have do some advertising. So
we got Whole Foods and Dick's Sporting Goods, and we're close.
List them all off here. Yeah.
ESPN.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Maybe some,
listening to you guys talk to you, I just went through a recent podcast that I'm about to release with Jonathan Levitt of Inside Tracker. And, we talk about people's stories. Right? And I dove directly right into, because I listened to it again, and I dove right into the questions about the technology. I'm like, okay, so tell me about Inside Tracker. What does it do? What does it do? And you can tell he was kind of mechanically going through, well, it does this and it does this, it does that, which is great. It was informative for the audience. And I'm like, well, what about you? Like, what are you up to? Because I'm like, oh, I have another 25 minutes here. And then he's like, well, I have my own podcast. I just started. I'm like, oh. Then all of a sudden, like, he just lit up, right? And the energy changed and the flow changed. And he was telling his story and what he really, really wanted to talk about. And Jonathan's very passionate about what he does in Inside Tracker, but you could tell there's a whole different thing going on when he started talking about endurance and how he loves interviewing people in endurance and why and the stories behind it. And I was like, this is it. That's the good stuff, right? Is you can inform people, but once you get into the stories, and I urge people, like, if you don't think you have a story, I doubt it. You do. Everybody has a story, right? At least one. And you should get out there and tell it because people want to hear it. And I think that's a big thing is once you get out once and you tell it and, you see the reaction, you see how good it felt to get your story out there and that it's unique in its own way. It's a very powerful thing. And I like helping people do that too. That's a big part of why I do a crazy amount of podcasts, 500 in the last year.
I know you do.
Crazy interviews, right? And I just like the other one isn't like, this is the big one. This is one I focus on a lot of time and energy. And the other one too, but that one is more, and it's called the Fitness Blitz Radio. That one is just all about giving people that first shot. Like, hey, get out there. Why not? Why can't you be interviewed? Tell your story, right? And that's the first question I lead with, and it's fascinating, and I love it. And hopefully someday I'll get paid for it.
That's the thing.
Well,
so we always say, like, if I won the lottery, I'd podcast a whole lot more. But it's like, wait, you don't have to win the lottery. You can just do it.
No.
Yeah. And I'm scheduled to be on Fitness Blitz coming up soon. So tease that a little bit. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, we'll tease the heck out of you guys. It's really, so tell me, as we kind of wrap things up here, you have the Two Fit Crazies podcast. You guys do a lot of stuff, right? What are you currently working on? This will probably air, today's April 10th. This will probably air sometime in May.
All right. So I'm going to say that we have our Two Fit Crazies and Microphone podcast, which subscribe, all that fun stuff. But yeah, we love doing this. We love to give everyone, a voice. Obviously, we're always working on, guests and, we're booking months out right now, which is really exciting to kind of see this start to unravel and sharing. And that's really cool. But I have to say, I'm going to be doing some more traveling with SCW Manias, which is one of the big fitness conventions around the country. And then I actually wound up, I have to give a shout out to the Women in Fitness Association. I have to do that. There is this is it. Again, it's networking, just being authentic, being real. I'm going to go back to the whole thing with the stories, because when you meet someone, if you're going to go up and try and sell them something, it just doesn't work. Hey, I'm Christine. Here's what I do. What's going on? How are you? Where do you live? And I've really noticed that with podcasting and in the last few years of really changing an approach of, hey, what do you do? What's going on? I love this serial learner. Like, I love to learn. And I love to ask questions. And that, I think, has led to success. I know for me, just getting to know people. And so traveling with that SCW, I've presented at almost every fitness convention around, the big ones around the country. And I'll be in, where am I going? Let's say, I'm actually met a woman who runs the fitness for Singapore. So I met her through the Women in Fitness Association. She invited me to go to Fitness SG, which is the biggest, it's the main convention in Singapore. So I'm going to be there with all the top presenters from Australia, Singapore, working on getting to China in 2020. I'll be in New Orleans for the Move convention beginning August, be in Dallas for STW in August, and working on maybe getting to Australia next year to present and going from there. So I have some online programs. I trademarked a facial exercise and rehabilitation program. I mean, everything is, aside from many other things, and running, supposed to possibly do another Ironman this fall. Trying to keep myself healthy. I'm running the fitness actually for Orange Theory in my area, which is just a fantastic, just to be involved with that company. And there's a lot of great things going on with that in the boutique fitness world. It's just exploding. So a lot of different things. Still working on a book, still working on some, you name it, I'm working on it. We called it a multi-potentialite.
She's a multi-potentialite.
So
I remember that. Yeah, great. I love it.
Yeah. I can't do one thing. It's, you got to, I'm laser focused, Eric, but I'm laser focused on a few different
She's
things.
laser focused, like the guy with the laser and the cat chasing
That's
it.
me.
That's
I'm the cat.
but it's okay. That's the way we like her.
Yeah.
And you can find all that stuff, contifitness.net. So anyone who wants to see me or follow the antics or whatever, that's where it is. And then Brian and I are running. We'll be running Boston this year.
So we got.
You guys have goals?
Oh yeah, goals. So Boston Marathon is this Monday. So this will be broadcast well after that's over. But I'm trained. I'm ready to rumble. I am. I'll look to break 2 hours and 50 minutes in the marathon. So
I will be right behind him.
We're there. So, like I said, not bad for a chubby office brat, but come a long way. I've got a lot of stuff going on. I work for a really, really good hometown boutique gym. It's called the Training Room. It's here in Manasquan, New Jersey. They've got another one in Avon, New Jersey. And I don't own it, but I work there primarily, and I do a lot of programs through them. I also come summertime and, I do a lot of work with runners. So anything that they're gearing towards. So after these fall marathons and half marathons and things like that, a lot of things will start gearing towards fall time events. And so I'll get busy with that. I also do a lot of strength training for primarily high school runners. So cross country, summertime, we get after it hard. I design programs for anyone, teams or individuals or groups of, some of the kids from the team, some of the better runners around. I work a lot with them just to strengthen them and get them better, better fit for running. So one of my main goals is to design programs that I can put out online for that specific thing, to help kids just get stronger, move a little bit better, and like I said, stay out of the physical therapy offices based on doing some prehab rather than some rehab. And, just do some things. Like Christine and I are going to collaborate on some programs for kids as well. We're going to design Fit Crazy Kids.
Are you a Fit Crazy school?
Yeah. So that's in the works as well. And then
wait, this September, wait for it, Eric. What are we doing this? What are we sponsoring? Our first ever
5K?
Yeah. The two Fit Crazies and a Microphone podcast are the main sponsors for a big race around here. We'll be announcing. We're
going to MC the race. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that's coming up. And, really just doing my thing with High Five Health and Fitness, online health coaching, just helping people out. I blew it. All this time, we made it without a sound coming out of the thing. Such a hack. So doing more stuff with High Five Health and Fitness, training runners, coaching runners, and just really anything that needs to come up and help people with their health and fitness.
We're making people
and podcasting
happier and improving the quality of lives one day at a time.
Eric's got 2 podcasts. I feel like I need another one.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing at a time now.
It sounds like you're both multi-potentialites. To me, Brian, I think you got a little bit of that in you too.
Oh, without a doubt. You know why? Because there's so much good to be had. Like, and I do my best thinking when I'm running, and I'll come home and I always tease or tell Christine about it. I have a notebook, so when I go out and I go for a run, I have good thoughts and things that really make sense. I'll come home and I'll write them down. Sometimes it's stuff with family. Sometimes it's a way to make $1 million. Sometimes it's just something, the next thing that I really feel like I need to do. Sometimes it's a quote that runs through my head, and whatever it is. All I know is that notebook's got about $5 million in there somewhere. Because there's just a bunch of good ideas that are just need to, evolve a little bit and blossom.
Do you ever see A Beautiful Mind, Eric?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so my office, that's like my office.
Yeah. Awesome.
Like you're looking around and there's just your ideas or what you're working on and the brainstorm. Because you never know when something you have to add to something just pops into your head. And or the month. I've got the months laid out, like the goals and what's happening in each month. Yeah.
It's your own personal matrix, really.
Right,
scary.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, this is where you guys. I love our conversations, obviously, and what I really appreciate about you two is the level of authenticity and the willingness to be vulnerable and just be real. And I think if there's one industry that could have a little bit more of that out there, I think it's the fitness and health industry. So you guys are doing you guys are the good guys. Really.
He said we're both broken, Brian.
No.
And that's cool. That's what he really said. And I love it.
But listen, Eric, we feel the same way about you. And we can't, we're just grateful that, you give us this opportunity and you come on a show and just everything that you're doing is we feel just the same. And so keep it moving, brother. And, just really just keep doing the good.
Yeah. Yeah. Likewise. Well, you guys heard it here. So go over to Two Fit Crazies, subscribe, listen. Check it out. Maybe listen to the episode we did together. It's a fun show.
I found this, so it's happened to be sitting right next to me. Okay?
Just in case you need a visual.
It was sitting right next to me the whole time.
Yeah. So it's a big sign that says Two Fit Crazies and a microphone. Podcast, twofitcrazies.com. Subscribe on iTunes now. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian and Christine, thank you guys. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Eric.
Likewise. Thank you, Eric.
Hey, fitness fans, don't leave yet. It's your host, Eric Malzone, and I have a quick favor to ask. Actually, 3 favors. So, number 1, if you're a fan of our show, I ask you to do something that takes under 3 minutes. Go to iTunes, please, and subscribe to our show. Please, please, please. It means so much to us. It's so important. And then give us a favorable review. We would really, really appreciate it. And I can't tell you how much it means and helps us out. So, I know it takes 2 minutes of your day, and it means a lot to us. So, please do that. Number 2, go to our YouTube channel, our Fitness Marketing Alliance, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel there. Number 3, if you like this episode or any of the episodes that we've released, share it on social. That's huge. That's a big deal for us. And we put a lot of work into these episodes, trying to give you great, actionable content for the fitness industry. So that would mean a lot. And that's it. So we have some big plans coming up for this show. I'll be talking about that in the next couple episodes. But thank you so much for listening. It means so much. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I love to hear from everybody. Eric, ERIC, at fitnessmarketingalliance.com.